Step one, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step two, get some good, some food in you. Step three, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step four, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
My dad's like one of the coolest cats I know in the world. But my dad had Richard Pryor at his birthday party back in the 70s. So in my house, we have actual photos of Richard Pryor, like photos taken by my aunt to it. It's wow. It's just wild as shit.
Today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Yo, set your affirmations, aspirations. I got shit to do, the aftermath of preparation.
This week's guest comes to you straight from the late night stand-up comedy scene of Pittsburg, Pennsylvania. Comedian and musician Terry Jones. This was an awesome interview. Had a great podcast. You're going to love it. He is also a musician. His album just dropped. His newest album is called Friday the 14th. Sounds pretty good. I've listened to a few clips of it. So go ahead and check that out. It's on Spotify and Spotify and some other outlets. The link is in the description, of course, and other ways to reach out and find Mr. Jones, which I recommend doing because he is freaking hilarious. But before we get started, let me invite everybody to share this, subscribe to this, and let everyone know that this podcast is the hottest thing coming up. We need 1 million subs, and we need them now. So let's make this happen. All the links to follow and listen are in the description and or on BobbyDizzle.com. So without further ado, I say that every week. But let's get this started. Here's Terry Jones from Pittsburg, Pennsylvania. Practice for the crowd work like that? Because it's almost like it was part of the act.
No, I'm just good at it. One of my mentors was a great crowd work comedian named Billy Elmer, and he was in a movie, The Wedding Singer. He's in there, the Adam Sandler movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to watch him do crowd work, and he was just so phenomenal at it. And I remember him giving me the best advice ever, and he was just like, "Yo, just be funny." Like, that was it. Just be funny. Don't worry about the material and trying to be all this extra stuff. Just be funny. And then everything from there will come to you. Emulate the people that you like the most. And my biggest influence is Eddie Murphy, obviously, and Richard Pryor. So, I just started doing crowd work and learning how to get so good at it. And crowd work to me makes a better live experience than just doing material. So, I've worked with some of the best comedians in the game: Eddie Griffin, Sinbad, John Witherspoon, Damon Wayans, and to be able to open for those types of that caliber, Arnez J, like those people I didn't realize I opened for. It's been so long that I'm like, oh, shit, like I worked with them. But when you work with these people that are that good, you have to be just as good as them. So for me, I've always believed that you need to be able to follow the people you open for. And as if what if they open for you? Could you follow that? And you have to perform to that level. So crowd work was always that's my favorite shit, man. Because it's like when you're in a live show and you can do that, people love it. Rather than somebody just up there doing the material. And then some people don't know how to do punchlines these days, at least. I think because they don't study a lot of the older comedy and the art of punchlines. Even for rap music, you got to have good punchlines. Jazz, most of the best comedians in comedy were jazz comedians. And those are the ones that have those good punchlines, like they flow through. And that's why they're good. Dave Chappelle, Franklin the Jab, Richard Pryor, Bill Cosby, you name them, they all have these really good punchlines. And it flows like so. So yeah, it's not a part of the act. It's just what I do, what I can do. I'm just good at coming up with quick stuff.
I was forgetting that those weren't the jokes you had written.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wait a minute. He's going 15 minutes on cause of the sweater.
Yeah.
It's not part of the act.
No, not at all. It was he happened to be in the right moment. It's just, and it just shows your comedic skill, man. I think comedy these days is kind of bland, personally. And I know people will say, oh, it's because of PC culture and all this stuff. That ain't got nothing to do with it. Like Cat Williams said, there's people that been allowed to say the shit that they wanted to say and they just wasn't funny.
Yeah,
So
has to be funny.
yeah, so I think the problem is people don't know how to actually be funny. They're just going up and talking and hoping something hits rather than, and that's the art of a joke. But the way I was taught to structure a joke, and I started comedy when I was 18, I had some really good mentors. And the way they taught me was write the premise first and then write the punchline and then figure out what you want to put in between. And once I got into that habit, I started learning like, okay, I can build funny shit in the middle and then like be funny with the punchline and do the stuff in the front. You know what I mean? So that it just feels like comedy is so bland these days, man. There's no seasoning on that shit. Like,
Yeah, it's few and far between to get a good one anymore.
yeah.
Just Netflix is treating comedians almost like they do a series, like whatever, who all comers, old and new, and it doesn't matter if it's funny. And you get some of the guys on there trying to be as politically correct as they can be, and some trying to be as nasty as they can be, and neither work.
Yeah, neither work. You got to find a happy medium, man. Like honestly, I think Dave Chappelle was funnier before he started complaining about the audience. Like I'm not watching your special to hear you shit on me. I'm watching your special to hear laughs for your comedy because you're one of the best comedians to ever touch this earth. Please show us that. And you still do, but it's like I don't want to hear Chappelle complaining like you people are the reason that you sound like a old ass complaining man and you're not even that old. You know what I mean? Like same with like Chris Rock and these guys. But Kevin Hart is like the guy that's right in between. And I know people hate on him, but in reality, I know mainstream success kind of ruins comedians and any artist in general, you know, but in reality, Kevin Hart he's good at what he does. You know what I mean? He's from Philly. It's like kind of clean and not super dirty, but it's like the perfect kind of blend of like, okay, I'm gonna make you laugh. Same with Cat Williams. Like Cat Williams is one of the greatest comedians that nobody will appreciate until he dies. And
that's kind of sad because he's up there as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, he's up there. I think it was more Hollywood bullshit. You know, he was exposing things that nobody wanted exposed. And I think that's really what caused the problem personally. Like, you know, you're pissing off the wrong people and you're not doing what they want you to do. And there's a lot of controversy behind him that's just like they kept fucking with him, like to the point where like even police were destroying his cameras and stuff. And I remember John Witherspoon telling me it's the people in his circle. Like a lot of people in his circle are messing him up. And so, you know, he's one of the greatest. But there's a beautiful art to comedy, and Richard Pryor is the perfect blend of any comedian, in my opinion. I think Pryor is the Jordan of stand-up comedy.
Yeah, he's the original. He's the GOAT.
He is.
There was only one generation before him, and they kind of petered out.
Yeah, I mean those mountain comics and the whole Catskills shit, and you know the reason that they kind of like flooded out, bruh, is because Pryor was blessed with something. Like one of my favorite books is Pryor Convictions. I have it right over on my bookshelf, and Richard Pryor tells a story of his life and what he went through, and you start finding out like one of his biggest influences was Miles Davis. You know, he would open for Miles Davis, and that's where this jazz hand comes from that he always does. It's the trumpet, and he's flowing with his comedy. And he wasn't afraid to push boundaries, and he did it in a time when like segregation just ended like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And here you have this black comic on stage who's not Cosby, who's not doing clean, he's not Flip Wilson. He's going up there, he's using the N-word, and he took the power out of it. And he's up there saying the most outlandish shit. Like, I remember he had a bit on Live and Smoking, and Live and Smoking is where he kind of bombs, right? But he's not bombing because the material's bad. He's bombing because people can't believe that they just paid money to see a dude get on stage
Yeah.
and talk about how he sucked dick before. And you know, he's up there, y'all ever sucked dick? Right? I mean, I sucked dick shit. That motherfucker was crazy. And then you're like, yo, did he just say that?
Clutching their
Because
pearls.
yeah, and before that, there's people that walked out, and I remember one of the funniest jokes that he has about the people walking out is he goes, "Oh, I see y'all walking out. I hope you get raped by black people with the clap." I'm like, what? Like, what? This shit is crazy. But he just had a power about him and an energy and a level. But if you go back and listen to Pryor, it still applies today. The racism, the police, the sexuality stuff, the just things about like love in general and just us being better people. It all applies and it's timeless. It's like Mozart of comedy, where you go and listen to Lenny Bruce, it's kind of dated, you know, or people before that. But Pryor is like, to this day, you're like, yo, this is still happening. This is what he's talking about. It's a beautiful art form. And people talk about how he was blue. He was never a blue comedian. He was dirty, but he wasn't blue. There's a difference. And I think that's where a lot of the new generation of comics don't really understand. Being dirty and being blue are different. There's, you know, because Richard Pryor thought that Eddie Murphy was mean. He thought that his comedy was mean. And that's interesting to hear from a guy who created that generation of comedians.
Yeah, he was the one that sprung from there.
Yeah, and what you learn is that it's not because of what we think. It's really because when we are kids, we think that the cuss words are funny, right? Because you're not supposed to be listening to that shit. So as a kid, you hear, "Oh, motherfucking shit." And then you're like, "Ha, he said motherfucker." Because you know you ain't supposed to listen to it. So kids, what do? Ooh. And that's what we do is when we're little and listen. So we thought that was the funny part. So he created a whole generation of people that use cuss words as the punchlines, where Richard Pryor may have did it a couple times, but his punchlines weren't really cuss words. There was cuss words leading up to the punchline. And that's what
he could have been funny without it. He could have been a clean comic and been funny.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Minus the fellatio part.
Yeah. he was great, bro. He was one of the best.
I love it when he started, when you forget about those, you go back and watch them, or he pops on serious, like, oh, I forgot about that bit.
Yeah.
Like, I've been listening to the old stuff. You forget they went almost darker back then than they do here.
Yeah, I think they went darker because they could. Like, this is a different time. This is a different feeling. You know, and they were allowed to say what they wanted to say and do what they wanted to do it to an extent, like they pushed it. Whereas now it's not. People are pushed into fear. Like, everybody's scared to be themselves or talk like, you know, you want them to. And because of that, it's like, oh, okay, well, we can't have so-and-so saying these things or doing these things. These are bad. This is bad. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't say this. I think the problem is that there's a comedic way of saying things that's funny, where you're not trying to hurt people, versus being mean-spirited with your material. And that's like, for example, you talked about how I was talking about the guy with the sweater. That dude tipped me $20 after the show.
Yeah, he seemed to take it really well.
He did, but it wasn't a malicious or an attack. I wasn't trying to hurt the guy. And we were all having a good time, and the energy was good in the room. And because the energy was good, it was set up a different way. So, you know, versus I've seen people like try to do crowd work and then are roasting somebody and they spend too much time on it, and it's not funny and it's not good and they're not pushing and it's like angry and dangerous, instead of actually being funny. So, you know, that mean-spirited version versus, like, I think you could say a lot of the shit that you want to say to that without being mean about it, without pushing boundaries of harming people. I've never enjoyed comedy that harms people. Like, I don't even like doing roast. Like people ask me to do roast, and I'm like, I spent my whole life roasting people because I was a fat kid and I had to take up for myself. Now I'm an adult and I've like grown out of it. Like man, I made some people cry that were like bullies and shit. Now I don't want to do that anymore. Like I want to use my comedic routines for other things instead.
Yeah, roasts are always awkward to me. We saw Jeff Ross in Nashville open for Chappelle last year, and like when he started doing the roast, I'm like, yeah, the first couple are funny, and you can tell that he brought some of the audience on stage.
Yeah,
and you know the type of people that would volunteer to go on stage are a mixed bag. They're either real extroverted or really weird.
Yes,
and the really weird ones, you could tell are borderline incels. And when he got to roasting them, I was like, oh, this is not funny. Just hurry up and get Segura up here.
This is good. That's funny.
But one cat took the microphone and started roasting them back, which was nice. I like that a lot.
Man.
Yeah,
that's funny, man.
But I never did like the Comedy Central roast when they were on. Not much, not a whole lot.
Yeah,
First few minutes.
Some of the clips are funny.
Yeah, some especially when you get what's that Triumph the Insult Comic Dog up there.
Oh yeah.
Me and my friend Randy, we go to see we do all the bucket list comedy. We go see Chappelle and Bill Burr and Garfunkel and Oates.
Yeah.
Brad Williams.
Oh yeah, I work with Brad a lot of times.
God, he is my favorite. He was my profile picture for a while.
Oh, that's funny as hell.
Because when I lost a bunch of weight, I looked like him. I had my goatee shaved off, and I looked like I was standing next to my twin.
That's funny, man. I don't know if you saw. I posted a video of us doing the kid and play dance in the club one day, and I said, "I'm gonna tell my kids this is," or no, I said, "Tell your kids this is Peter Dinklage and Idris Elba." And
you did a video, Brad Williams?
It's us dancing. We're doing the kid and play together in the club. Yeah,
I looked at a lot of your videos today. I didn't see that one.
Yeah, I'll send it to you, man. Because we work together a lot of times.
He is hilarious.
Yeah, we're friends on Facebook. He's funny, man. We've hit it off a few times, man. And that's another person. Like I've worked with so many people that sometimes I forget, and then I'm like, oh shit, yeah, so and so.
He talks about like doing doggy style, not having to bend down or kneel down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He says, I'm standing up the whole time, buddy.
He used to end his shows with a lap dance. He'd give someone a lap dance in the crowd.
I think he still does.
Oh, that shit's funny to me.
As of 2017, he did, I think.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Well, he was doing it for a while.
Yeah.
So yeah.
In my mind, 2017 is not 5 years ago though, so it could be over with. I still think it's 2016.
You know what, man? The pandemic fucked us up, man. We have no sense of time or days or anything anymore.
I got a new job right before it started, and time has been nothing but squirrely since then.
Oh, I bet, bro. I believe you, man. It's a crazy thing to think about. Like, you know, you just go through your day like there was nothing to do and we couldn't do much. I know at least up here, like we were pretty much shut down. Mm-hmm. And a lot of states down south were like picking up because it's more like conservative down there versus up, north in a lot of regions. So for us, it was like we were like completely shut down for a long time. Like, you had to people were going to work with masks on.
Oh, yeah.
We couldn't even have shows. The comedy club didn't open back up until like last year, like the summer of last year. Because I worked with Eddie Griffin and that was like summer. So, we couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild.
I keep thinking last year was 2020. It's not. It's 2021.
Yeah, exactly. Like that whole year, just we didn't have anything, man. So
yeah,
2020 and 2021 were 1 year as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, it was doubled up. See, we worked the whole time. We built this whole building, and so everybody was all scared. Don't you want to go out? I'm like, I've never went in.
Yeah.
Did
you get COVID?
Oh yeah, a few times.
Yeah.
Didn't even know it.
That's crazy. I had it and I knew it.
I gave blood. I think I saw your post about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
when I got it was bad, bro.
Yeah, you
It
said
was
you were
bad.
sick in bed.
Yeah, and I had to spend 2 weeks away from my kids, which I didn't like. So they had to stay, with their mom and jump between like going to my mom's house and their mom. And I was like just locked away in here, like
Mhm.
I got caught up on some shows and shit. Like I probably needed the rest, but it was bad. Like it affects everyone differently genetically.
Who I
And
never would have thought I had the superior immune system to not I don't want to say superior, but like who would have thought I'd have had that particular roll of the dice to not have any symptoms at all, hardly.
you know what? And I think there's different you know, just that like the immune system's different, and I think genetically
Mhm.
everyone's like affected differently. So like it may affect specific genes different, or I also think there were different versions of it in different areas.
Mhm.
So like I know for here, the Pittsburg International Airport is a very big airport. So like the first time I got sick, I went and recorded my albums in Canada, and I came back and I was super sick. And this was 2019, like the end of it. Like I think November going into December. And I remember coming back being sick, and my kids were away for 2 weeks. They went to go visit their grandma in Florida or whatever. And I just came back like, yo, what the fuck is this? Like it felt weird, and I kept taking medicine and nothing was fucking working. You know what I mean? And come to find out, like months later, that's when all the COVID stuff came out. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I was in Toronto's international airport, which Toronto and Canada does business with countries America doesn't. So there's certain flights and certain travels and things that would not be able to come into the Pittsburgh International Airport outside of people catching flights from those other
Yeah.
countries into it. So, I feel like we were bringing in like different variations throughout wherever, but certain regions, like, for example, Huntsville, Alabama, Decatur, Alabama, different areas may not have as much international
Yeah.
traffic. You know what I'm saying? So that
It,
could also be it.
it didn't get bad here until December of 2020.
I
Yeah.
believe it.
But
Yeah.
I think it went around once, like when you're saying, I remember when it was taboo to say you had it before March.
Yeah.
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 Everybody's like, wait, we everybody got sick for like 2 months.
hmm It's crazy, bro.
Yeah, I had a bad a bad bug in November of 2019, and so
Mm.
I got antibody tested in May of 2019 or 2020, but nothing. So I guess it wasn't it.
It probably
Yeah,
was it. And
yeah,
they just didn't. I honestly think scientifically, they just didn't have the fucking skills and the information needed to figure out what the fuck it is.
yeah.
And I
It was
know
a
people are
crapshoot at first.
skeptical. Oh, it was wild, man. And you probably did have the antibodies, and that's why you weren't affected. You know
What
what I
if it
mean? Like,
was? I was sick for 3 days.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
And I think it was a smaller version of it, because what I had when I came back from Canada, I was like, I ain't never felt this shit. Kind of felt like allergies a bit.
yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
remember my nose when I officially had it. My nose would burn right here, like
Oh
I jumped in
yeah.
a pool.
Oh shit.
And I smelled my wife was cooking sauerkraut one time in a skillet, and I couldn't
Mhm.
smell it, and I was like, "Oh, sauerkraut!" And so I blew my nose real hard, and I could smell it. So that's not COVID. It was COVID. So it was
Probably
totally,
was.
it was
I think
totally
they
COVID.
I think they lied to us about everything, bro. Like as far as like when it got here
Mm-hmm.
down to whatever, because everyone I know that got super sick in 2019, it was all around the same time of like people traveling, internationally
Mm-hmm.
traveling, etc. So I'm like, yo, I think it was going around, but we just didn't know what it was. Because I thought it was like allergies, I thought it was a sinus
Mm-hmm.
infection, but everything I took it didn't give me relief at all. So
Mm.
when I caught COVID, we'll say again later on, it really destroyed my body. Like I felt dead. Like I had the worst headache I ever had in
Oh
my
yeah,
life.
man.
It
Headache was
was
a thing.
bad.
Headache was a thing.
Yeah, you had that.
Yeah, I had a bad headache, and
Yeah.
I had spent the whole day in a server room with
Mhm.
nothing but, and I thought that's what did it.
Oh, you thought it was them vibrations.
Yeah, and the air in there, and I left, and I almost went home from work,
Yeah,
and if I'd gotten tested, I bet I would have popped hot.
probably.
But,
Yeah.
but they can't get me. They ain't got me yet. I've been exposed 100 times, but never been tested positive.
Crazy.
Anyway, we'll get back to comedy before they flag us on Spotify. I'm gonna get canceled.
Oh, they won't flag you, man. We're not saying nothing bad about it.
my next guest is Alex Jones, so they may. He's on next. I got Terry Jones, and Alex Jones.
The Jones and Jones connection.
The Jones brothers. Tell you something, Terry. The frogs are gay, Terry.
Oh man, my man Alex.
I'm not gonna say that I don't enjoy his shtick, because I really do. He makes me so happy, but he's crazy as hell.
Oh, how can you not enjoy fucking Alex Jones?
Oh my gosh!
Bro? Like, I know a dude, Hotep Jesus. He was on.
Jesus.
Hotep Jesus, man.
He was on Rogan.
Yeah, he's on Rogan, man. Hotep Jesus. I've known Hotep Jesus for a long time, and he used to be a rapper. He used to go by the name of Daddy Boston at one time. BAWSTON, or is like AWN or whatever. And so he started going into the Hotep thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him being on Alex Jones and them just screaming into the camera together like they were Dragon Ball Z characters.
Oh, it gets addicting.
Funniest shit ever, man.
Oh yeah, one of my other favorite shows is Tinfoil Hat with Sam Tripoli. Eddie Bravo's on there a lot. He came to Huntsville and we met him because we do jiu-jitsu downtown. So Eddie Bravo, we couldn't hesitate to meet him. And when he came in there and choked out Alex Jones on Rogan, it was the greatest moment of my life. Choke me out. I won't pass out. Choke me out.
Oh, crazy, man. You look like you studied jiu-jitsu, man. You look like an MMA guy.
No, I'm a one-stripe white belt and I'm terrible at it. But I try.
It ain't about being terrible. You like MMA
really
though.
I honestly, I don't. I can watch it now. I can watch it now that I know more about it.
Yeah.
I'm more
what are you into most?
College football mostly.
Oh well, you're Alabama.
And movies. Movies and TV shows and the outdoors and paranormal.
Okay.
Yeah, that's most of what I have on here. I want to do a specific comedy only podcast.
Yeah.
But I want to do other stuff and have time to do it. So we do I do paranormal on here and fitness and comedy.
Okay.
I love that.
Man. I'm into paranormal shit.
Oh yeah. That's why I said
to my granddad. He died when I was little. I used to talk to my granddad.
Really? Also, that's why I said it would take an hour in case we find out you're abducted by aliens. Then it take like 5 or so.
No, aliens don't abduct black people, bro. They haven't abducted black people for a long time, unless you watch Undercover Brother or like Brother from Another Planet. Shit, they don't fuck with us. They don't come to the hood. I remember Richard Pryor had a joke because he said that they don't come to the hood because black people would steal the spaceship and joyriding it. And he said, "Go ahead."
Well, I said, what about Meteor Man?
Oh well, the meteor came to him, man.
Yeah.
It hit
Bill
him.
Cosby.
Yeah, yup. Cosby had the fucking the power. The people see what the babies do when the boys just see that the babies want to see the meteors come down. You know what, man? That's one of my favorite comedians of all time, and the whole shit was crazy because I believe all that shit. I believe he did all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you why. I went to see him live, okay? Hey, like I said, I've done a lot of cool things in comedy, like worked with some of the best, been featured in Forbes, all kind of shit. And Cosby was like one of my heroes. And I remember years back, I did a spoof, Jello pudding. It was Wiz Khalifa, Black and Yellow, Jello pudding, and it blew up. Like it was like on BET, all kind of shit. And I know he saw it. Okay, so we had some interactions on Twitter, good ones, but still, it was a comedy god responding to a kid that did a parody of him at the time. You know what I mean? So for me, it was huge. It was like, yo, Cosby's like, yo, the Cos. It's the Cos, the cigar smoking, cool ass, Jello pudding eating dad. Like, so my parents, they're like, yo, we got you tickets for your birthday to go see Cosby. I'm like, are you serious? They're like, you didn't go see Carlin when you had a chance. And like, I remember being like, Carlin lives forever, and he died the next year.
Yeah.
And I missed out. So they're like, you're not about to miss out on this one. So they get me 2 tickets. I couldn't get no one else to go. So I used that seat for my coat, because it was like wintertime. And I just put my coat there so I didn't have to hold my coat in this huge theater, right? It was at the Hans Hall. So there was like this huge fucking everything. So I'm sitting there, and there's a couple over here next to me. And I'm like, yo, y'all should go ahead and put your chairs here. Like, I mean, put your, coats here so you can enjoy the show. And it was an older white couple, and they're like, no, we're fine. And, and then all of a sudden, I guess the husband was like, Derek, give me your coat. And he takes it and he puts it there, right? And we were the only people enjoying the shit out of the show, because we didn't have to hold our coats like everyone else that was laughing, and they're holding, making sure chapstick and shit don't fall on the ground. And we're looking at each other having a blast. So Cosby comes out, and he does no opener. He just had a guy introduce him, and he does 2.5 hours, right? It was amazing. It was crazy to see, because I have a sense of time from doing comedy. Like, you kind of know what 45 minutes, 30 minutes, 5 minutes, etc. is. And I remember looking at my watch, like, wait a minute, he got me. I've been sitting here for an hour and a half. I didn't even realize it. So in the middle of the show, there's this lady and her son and the husband, and he goes, come up here, and I'm going to sit down on the edge of the stage, and I would like to see you and the little boy, and this is your mother, and I met the little boy in the back because the little boy came and his mother introduced me to him, and mothers are always speaking for the sons when you ask questions. So he comes down, and the lady comes up, sits on the edge of the stage, and he takes her hand and forces it on his leg. Like, he just puts it on his leg.
In front of everybody?
Thousands of people, bro. Thousands. And I got close-up seats. I'm uncomfortable because, keep in mind, this is like 2011. So I'm uncomfortable because I know about the allegations. The audience doesn't, because it was kept under wraps. They were like, it wasn't big on social media yet.
When did Hannibal do his thing? Wasn't it like 2008 or something?
No. Hannibal did that like 2014, 2015.
Okay. So it was later than that.
Yeah, so it was after I saw this. So, the lady's holding Cosby's thigh, and he's up there doing bits, and then he looks at the husband and the son, and he's talking to him, and he's like, the people see to the boy, what's your name? And tell me what you do. And she answers for him, and he's like, I didn't ask you. I asked your son because the mothers always would say. So he's up there doing this thing. At some point, the lady just goes, all right, I don't need to touch his thigh no more, right? So she takes her hand off, and he looks them dead in the face, grabs her hand, and puts it back on his thigh. And it was uncomfortable as shit.
I'm uncomfortable right now.
Yeah, and at that point, I was like, yo, Kaz is a wild dude, man. And I definitely believe that, a lot of the allegations were legit. Like, let me explain this to you. There were like 56 to 58 allegations. 56 to 58 is a lot. To put that into perspective mathematically, Michael Jackson had an amusement park in his backyard and didn't even have 58 allegations. So,
see,
you see what I'm saying?
That's like when you do the size of a blue whale next to a human.
Yeah, exactly.
The T-Rex next to a cow.
Yeah, Michael Jackson had a whole fucking zoo and amusement park and didn't have 56 kids say shit about him.
That's ignorant.
Michael would be happy that I said that shit. It's
Yeah,
funny. Me and Eddie Griffin had a whole conversation about Michael because they were best friends. They're really close.
man, I forget about Eddie Griffin sometimes. You get
Oh, right.
him and Mike Epps. You forget they exist.
Yeah, you know why, bro? Because Eddie's different though. Eddie got mad at me for doing an Obama joke, and he kind of talked shit on me, and he was mad.
I can
And
hear it in
then,
my head.
oh, bro, and then we talked the next day, and I was just asking him some stuff, and we talked about like, he's against, like, he's really heavy against secret societies, and we talked about like Michael Jackson's the controversy behind his death, and
Mm-hmm.
MJ being murdered, and he was surprised that I knew a lot of stuff that I did about like what Michael Jackson was talking about, like certain songs, etc. Um, but it was interesting because a guy like that doesn't want to be told what to do, and that's why we don't hear about him as much. Similar to like Cat Williams, I think Mike Epps thing was just more so like the wrong people, like just kind of like because he was huge at one point, like so big that he was in a fucking Resident Evil movie.
Yeah, I remember
So
when I was little, like, because I was born in like '83. I remember Mike Epps being in stuff, sitcoms and guest hosting. I think he was like on those random like TGIF shows.
yeah, Def Comedy Jam
Then
and
he
shit.
he just kind of went off. You hear about, I said, Mike Epps, who's that?
Yeah.
Forget what he looks like.
I think it's because Hollywood, you got to figure out what you want to do. Like you got to figure out your kind of lane, and if you don't figure that out, it's difficult for you. And you got to figure out what you want to do. And I think there's a difference between like being black famous and like mainstream famous. And I think for him, he enjoyed being black famous. Like he started going into the mainstream, but
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times I think people do things to jeopardize it. Like, for example, Richard Pryor was so high on cocaine and drinking all the time that like he fucked himself over in a lot of like, because he had that big deal with Warner Brothers where it was like a multi-million. He was getting paid more than Superman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had
You
Brewster's
know?
Millions and
Yeah.
See No Evil.
Yeah, and there was he was supposed to be in Blazing Saddles, but because he was so bad on drugs and stuff, they didn't want him to be in Blazing Saddles.
Oh my gosh, that would have been a different movie.
It would have. He wrote it, but it wasn't the movie. You know what I mean? So you kind of think of stuff like that, and I think a lot of these guys get caught up in drugs and alcohol because it's so accessible when you're in entertainment, especially comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just easy to get coke and drink and do shit. I've seen it for so long. I'm 13 years sober. So, for me, it was like people were always giving you free drinks and shit.
I heard those green rooms were crazy back still to this day.
Bruh, green rooms are nuts, bruh. Like when you really think about it, green rooms are nuts. You're just in a room full of a ton of people. And then people bring like a circle with them, like especially like within black comedy, like they roll like rappers, bro. Like it'll be 10 motherfuckers, it'll be like a cousin that's a fucking road manager, and they're homeboys and this and that, and they're doing this and they're doing that. And you're like, yo, what's the point of all this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why is there? And then you got a white comic who's just coming in by himself. His agent's already set up everything.
I was gonna say Bill Burr goes alone everywhere,
bro. Always, bro. He be rolling. Him and my boy goes on the road with him, Bill Crawford. They're good friends. And Burr's a cool ass cat, man. Like he don't care about none of that shit. But like for black comedy, just culturally, it's so different because we're kind of raised in this idea of that mentality of like the same as like rappers. You know what I mean? Like it's like you have a bunch of guys who didn't come up from anything. Like the thing that I've noticed in my years in doing comedy is like a lot of the black comics don't come from money. So they come from like poverty or growing up with like multiple siblings or going through shit. And so they act the same way as like the athletes that didn't come from money, and the rappers that didn't come from money. Like it's just like, I'm gonna spend it, spend it, spend it. I got it. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And then most of the white comics I know come from fucking, their dads are lawyers and shit and own insurance companies, and they're fucking rich as shit. And their dads are disappointed in them for fucking going on stage and bombing for fucking 5 minutes because
it's always daddy issues.
It's always dad. My dad, you know, Bert Kreischer, his dad was a fucking lawyer. That was my first road gig, was opening for Bert Kreischer in Cleveland. And I remember him talking about it, his dad being like, well, you got to go get a job. And Will Smith found Bert Kreischer in a club in New York. And it's like, you know, he came from money. So I think that's a big difference with a lot of the, like, culturally, why you see so many comics do different things versus like Gary Owen is a white dude who grew up poor in Cincinnati and wherever else he was from, like Kentucky or whatever. And so his mentality is different. Like Hal Sparks and I are friends, and Hal talks about, like, you know, a lot of the best people that dance grew up poor. And he's like, I could dance because I was kind of poor, grew up in Kentucky. So it's a different like mindset. And I think that's what affects people like business wise. And I remember working with Damon Wayans and being like, yo, this dude's a beast. Like he hires his whole fucking family. His son's his opener, his kids are his assistant and road manager. Like they kept everything internally within like family and built an empire out of it, which is why they've been so successful and rich for so many years, because they had like really good guidance. Same with Eddie Murphy, but he had a crew too. Like that dude used to roll deep. Fucking Charlie was the head of security.
Hell yeah,
Charlie was head of security, bro. You know, I remember meeting Charlie. I got his book downstairs.
Oh, you met Charlie Murphy?
Yeah, I met bro. I meet all these guys, man. And then, you know, yeah, I met Charlie years ago. He is a real hood dude, bro. He was like, people were scared of him because he was actually like a thug, bro. Like he was dangerous.
Yeah, he had that. Even though obviously my knowledge of him comes from one source, other than the shows, other than the shows I've watched of him and the podcast he's been on, but you can tell he's not the same. I guess wacky guy like Eddie Murphy might be.
No, he wasn't, and he protected Eddie. I remember he had like, he would tell these funny ass stories, and his book's good. But he had this funny ass story about, there was this dude in a wheelchair. No, they got on an airplane once. It was a story about the airplane, and he was head of security. And this is when Eddie had to stop making him head of security because if someone didn't laugh in the audience, he wanted to fight him. So, like, he'd be like, yo, you ain't laughing at my little brother's jokes, and come whoop your ass. You know, so that was Charlie's thing. And one day they got on the airplane, and you know, they used to wear their leather and shit, and they're all black and all that. So they get on the plane, and you know, I guess some white dude was like, oh, what are those guys? Is that a basketball team? and Charlie got pissed off, and he rolled up on dude, and he said, yo, shut the fuck up with Black Panthers, and walked away. Scared, gave the dude a heart attack.
Who was it that they said Rick James before Eddie Murphy? Somebody wasn't the darkest man in Hollywood.
Oh, Wesley Snipes.
Yeah,
before
Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, man.
Darkness.
That Rick James shit is real, bro. Because, so a little backstory to mix and match the Prince and Rick James stories. My dad years ago, my dad's like one of the coolest cats I know in the world. But my dad had Richard Pryor at his birthday party back in the 70s. So in my house, we have actual photos of Richard Pryor, like photos taken my aunt took. It's wild. It's just wild as shit. It's very insane because it's the fucking GOAT. Like photos of the fucking GOAT.
That's like the Frank Sinatra at The Godfather.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Because what happened was, my dad, Richard Pryor, was out. My dad went and saw him, and he goes, you know, back in the 70s, they had the lingo and shit. And my dad used to hang out with all the cool cats. So he has all these cool ass stories. So he said, "Hey, Pryor, man, give me some skin so I could grin." And then Richard Pryor was like, "Motherfucker, I ain't taking no nigga to Hollywood with me. Shit, back the fuck up." And he, then some girls walk by and it's like, "Hey," my dad's nickname was the Black Fawns. So they go, "Oh, Black Fawns, you still having your party?" And then he was like, "Yeah." And then Pryor said, "Oh, where this motherfucker party at again?" and he came down and they partied. But my dad went and saw Prince live. And it was because he was opening for Rick James. So they went to go see Rick James. And this is when Prince was still kind of newer. And Prince used to kill the show up front on purpose because he didn't like Rick James as a competition. And they would compete and try and do bigger shows and watch each other. Like, so when Prince got off, he would watch Rick James and be like, "Yo, fuck this dude." Or Rick James would be motherfucking Prince while Prince is opening. And my dad said Prince killed it so much that everybody left. That was it. They were like, "Yo, we're done." That was the concert. And then Rick James had to go up and follow that. So in that skit, Prince, there's that scene where Prince is listening to music with, he says they go to Prince's house, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And the song that was being played, believe it or not, was "Party All the Time." They don't say it in the skit. And Prince said, "This bores me." He was talking about "Party All the Time" because he knew Rick James produced it. And he was trying to say that it was trash. And to be an asshole, because he heard that Party record and thought it was possible to be like a smash hit because Rick James is behind it and Eddie Murphy was such a big star, Prince released 1999 just to be an asshole. So anytime Rick James put out a hit, Prince put out a hit that was bigger just to fuck over Rick James.
I didn't know those two had a rivalry.
Oh, bruh. I had to send you the video. This shit is crazy, bruh. Like they hated each other. Like he really had it in for Rick James for whatever reason.
That's great. I remember this bores me. Let's play basketball.
Do you want to play a game of basketball? Yeah, Eddie Murphy confirmed it. He said that the outfit that he wore was the same outfit he had on in the Kiss video. And when you go and watch the Kiss music video, you will laugh your ass off because it's a belly shirt and he has a waistlet on. Mm-hmm. It's like a gold waistlet. And that's the outfit that he whooped their ass in basketball.
Dude, you know how most people, when they throw things in the garbage can, be like, "Kobe?"
Yeah.
I'm always game. Blouses.
Yo,
like,
it's great.
Slap people. Not even on your team. Good game.
It's a great story, man. Prince is one of my favorite artists, so you always hear crazy stories, bro.
Dude, they looped it back in, I don't know how old you are. But in
35.
Oh, well, hell, we're right next. I just turned 39. So
okay.
Oh, you were in college with Sam, that's right. I was like, sure, I'm not talking like a 22-year-old now, but
no. I think Sam's older than me, I think.
He's 35 or 36.
Okay, I thought he was like 37.
Yeah, he may be now. I don't do math.
Close in age.
That was 2020. That was 2020, and time doesn't move. But I remember back in college, I had to do a speech, and I stayed up all night, and they were looping that Rick James episode, so it's in my mind.
That's funny.
Like it's part of my DNA.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Oh man, this is funny.
That was good. All right, it's been an hour. Has it? Holy shit, it has. I wanted to ask you a question before I let you go because I know you got to get out to Pittsburgh and see Big Ben. But
man, no, I ain't gotta see Ben. I seen Ben enough in my day, in clubs and all that shit.
He's
man.
He's like a white Cosby, isn't he?
Listen. I used to see him in a club, bro, and he was like his kind of arrogant cat, man. I used to hang out with the defensive guys because like Casey Hampton, Woodley, all those guys on that Super Bowl team, that they would come to comedy shows, Joey Porter and all them. So I would hang out with them. Mike Tomlin's son does my beats for my music. So, I've always been, on all social media. So, It's on all streaming services, Apple Music, Tidal, etc. But even my comedy albums. But you know, I would see him in the club and stuff, man. And yeah, man, they said some things about him. The only things I witnessed was this: he was kind of a jerk. But that's just how people are.
It seems like it'd be almost easy to pin something like that on somebody like that.
Yeah.
Like, well, sure he did. He's a ginormous person. He gave somebody a drink.
Yeah, I mean, I think his thing was just he was just forceful, and I've heard stories of him like, making people watch the door while he did, excuse me, like wild shit. So I never witnessed it. I just witnessed some of the like arrogance part of it, just hanging around a lot of those guys. A lot of them were humble, and then he was just like whatever he wanted to be. So
500-pound gorilla.
Yeah, man, and yeah, so it's always funny. But what was your question? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say I've always wanted to do be comedy adjacent with the podcast thing, like maybe be one of the homeboys in the green room, but also wanted to try out the open mic just for fun. How many times a week do you do your reps?
It's different now, man, because when I first started, I was always out. I was like 3 shows a night, 4 shows a night, and stuff like that. Yeah, like 3 or 4 shows a night. The one time I tried to do, I think the most I've ever done in one night is 5. So I've tried but you go up to New York and you can do like 12, 13 easily in a night if you get around. But when you first start, you want to get as much repetition as possible. Now that shit is a reflex for me. You know what I mean? Like when you mention the crowd work, it's just such a reflex that I'm able to just move and do whatever I have to do and be good at it and be funny versus where I had to be out all the time. Like I can because I headline shows, I can do my meat and potatoes in the middle and try out new shit and then have my killer shit at the end versus trying to go out with 30 other comics and no audience and practicing shit that I don't know if it's going to work or not. Because what's funny to a comic isn't funny to a person. But when you first start, you need to be out there as much as possible. The only advice I say is just do it. Just be funny and just do it. Like it's trial and error. And the cool thing about comedy is there's no fucking age limit to this shit. Like our favorite athletes are old as fuck right now, bro. They're like, you know how hard it is to watch like your favorite, like Ric Flair. Like he just had his last match. It's so hard to fucking watch Ric Flair wrestle because he's 1,000 years old, and here you have this 1,000-year-old fucking Ric Flair wrestling, and he was the man back then. And you're watching them now, and it's just like watching your heroes deteriorate, right? But Don Rickles was doing stand-up in his fucking 90s. Like, when he died, he still had shows booked in Vegas. Like, you can Don still Rickles. Buy tickets.
Don Rickles is one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah, Donnie's wild, bro. Like, you can still buy fucking tickets. You feel what I'm saying? Like, yo, I can still get tickets to Don Rickles and he's dead. Like, that's how...
Still booked up.
Yeah, and it was different, man. It was a different kind of thing. Rodney Dangerfield was like in his 40s when he got started. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think I Googled young Rodney one time and there wasn't anything on him.
No, because he was a fucking he was a salesman. He was selling roofing or the siding that you put on houses. He was a salesman. And what he did was he would write jokes and throw them in a duffel bag over years. And I guess his wife at the time wouldn't let him do stand-up. And I think either when she died or divorced, I can't remember which one it is. He had a duffel bag full of jokes by the time he started. So he could go, hey, no respect. He could go up there and do that shit. And it was a different time. So when you could hold a mic or put it in the mic stand and you don't gotta be out there juking and jumping over shit, you can always do this. It's a beautiful thing. There's really no time limit. So go out and just do it. Like, I just tell people, do what the fuck you want, man. If the pandemic showed us anything, it's that at any moment you could die. Like I lost some relatives due to like COVID and just old age and cancer. Uh, I lost so many relatives over it ain't even been a year yet. It's already like going on like 15, 16 people. And with that said, like you just realize, at any given moment, you could just go. So if you had to look down at your body, would you be in regret for not doing a lot of the things that you could have done or at least tried to do? Because I'd rather die and laugh at the shit and be like, oh shit, I tried to be, you know what I mean? Like I tried to rap, I tried to act, I tried to do this versus like not doing it.
I know that my leave it on the field attitude has improved like 500% since 2020.
Good. Yeah.
Like, do the crazy shit.
Yeah. Cause a lot of people it didn't do that for. Like a lot of people are still struggling right now with adjusting, and it's rightfully so. But it is. You want to leave it on the like, yo, fuck this. I'm gonna go out and do this shit. What the fuck am I worried about them for? Why am I worried about what they think? Why am I worried about him or her? Blah 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 blah. Just go out and do that shit. If you don't, then you'll never know. You know what I mean? Like I know I'm funny. It took me a long time to realize I know I'm funny because I was around a lot of people who knew I was too funny and they didn't want me to be too funny. A lot of people won't let you open for them because you're too funny. And a lot of different things. And you don't want to be in that situation. Like you want to just be who you are and control your brand. And that was the biggest thing for me. Like, I'm gonna put out these albums. I'm gonna do what the fuck I want. I'm gonna be funny. I'm gonna be all this shit.
How long did it take your high school nemesis to start coming to your shows?
Oh man, bruh. Honestly, I was never really disliked too much in school. But it is funny because a lot of the there are a lot of people that weren't like that supportive that as I kept getting more and more shit, they started
those people's what I mean too.
Yeah. They start coming around or there's people that doubted you and then all of a sudden, they're at a show or my favorite has always been like the girls that were like assholes or diss me and they're on a date coming to see somebody and then here come my black ass walking on stage killing them for 20 30 minutes before they go see their favorite headliner. So it's always been great to be that guy. Like,
see, that makes me happy.
Shit. Yeah, it's cool, bro, because the way I explained it on this recent podcast I was on, Eric McKenna, the thing for me is like when I was growing up as a little kid, there was a lot of bad things that I went through, but I would have never guessed that I was manifesting what I'm doing.
Truth.
And so, when my friends were selling drugs on the corner and shit, I wasn't selling drugs with them because I was like, this just ain't for me. Like my parents are working hard. I ain't trying to get locked up. I done had relatives locked up. Like I don't want to be like this. But a lot of my friends were selling drugs and I would be hanging out with them and they're selling drugs at 11 and 12. And it's crazy to think sometimes like the kid that got picked on or the kid that survived all this shit and watched his friends get locked up and family members get locked up and friends and family get killed by gun violence, grew up to be able to read about himself in Forbes magazine, which is like still crazy to me. You know what I mean?
I need to look that up. I didn't know that happened.
Yeah.
Maybe I did. Maybe I did see that.
It was about the Will Smith, Chris Rock thing. And it's like, Dr. Nancy Burke, brilliant writer, friend of mine, she hit me up and it's like, she has all access to all these other people that she could ask, but she loves and respects me as a comic and was like, I'm gonna get you in this article. So, I've always learned that you don't want to make enemies with too many people in this business. Like, don't burn bridges, be a good person. Always have the reputation of being a good person. Like, the reason The Rock is so successful is not because of just how electrifying he is and the fact that his ex-wife is an amazing manager. It's the fact that you never hear any bad stories about The Rock.
Nope.
Only
Not
good
one.
ones. Kevin Hart, similar. Like outside of him like cheating and stuff like that, you don't really hear like too many bad stories about him being a bad person. But you do hear about the people that are assholes. And those people don't have the longevity of the good people. And it may seem
Definitely
like
agree.
they do, but they're not making the money of the good people. But when you have a good heart and you're always a good person, people will always look out for you and you will always get work. And you will always have people coming to your shows. And you'll always have people respecting you and supporting you and loving you. And you'll build your cult following that way. And then it blows up into other things. So I always just tell people, be a good person and be funny and you'll be good. You know,
Truth.
working with some of the best people, I've seen that. Um, one of my favorite people I worked with was JB Smoove and from Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and JB, he's in the Spider-Man movies, the newer ones.
Mm-hmm.
And we're walking in because he's like, yo, I want a roast beef sandwich. I want a roast beef sandwich, great. So we after the show we go and get it, and he likes to play pool. He's really good at pool. So we're hanging out playing pool, and then he wants to go get this food. So we go to this restaurant. He's walking in there like he's not a celebrity, like he's not a star. And all these young people are like, yo, Pootie Tang, I'm telling my mom I saw you. Oh shit, I'm gonna tell my mom I saw you from Pootie Tang. People are like, yo, Curb Your Enthusiasm. So we sit down, and a buddy of mine goes, yo, you ever been starstruck before? And he goes, yeah. Oh, I've been starstruck. Whitney Houston. I saw Whitney Houston once and Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor was on one of my shows. So I've been starstruck. And so my buddy goes, yo, I saw LeBron James and Lil Wayne when I was in a club in Miami. And his boy turned into a little girl when LeBron James came by. He's like, look, it's LeBron! He's starstruck. And so he goes, I would be starstruck if I met Michael Jackson. So JB has a homie named AB. And AB's this dude from New York, this little hard dude. And he's bald. So AB asks JB, he goes, yo, B, can I tell my Michael Jackson story? He's like, yeah, cool, go ahead. And he goes, yo, when we was kids, the Jackson 5 came into town in New York, we was excited. So me and 5 of my homies, we went to go see the Jacksons. They limo pulled up. We pulled out our pistols, tried to rob all 5 of them motherfuckers. Right? So at this point, my jaw drops. I'm like, I'm sorry, what did you just say? Yeah, man, we tried to rob the Jackson 5, man. We shook the limo like groupies, man. Yeah, tried to get the motherfuckers to come out. The limo driver said, yo, don't go out there. So my boy's drunk as hell. He goes, yeah, but was Mike cool though? fucking phenomenal, bro.
That is insane.
It is. And even working with Sinbad, like when I talk about like manifestation and like, I'm big into esoterics and stuff, and a lot of people don't realize like how powerful manifestation really is. And it's crazy because like I said, I was a little kid watching a lot of these people on TV. So I didn't realize I was manifesting my future. I knew I wanted to be a comic when I was a little boy, but Damon Wayans was one of my favorite heroes growing up. Sinbad, John Witherspoon. I watch Eddie Griffin movies. Arnez J. JB Smoove was hilarious to me on the Cedric show. There's so many others that I end up working with off the strength of not even realizing that I'm manifesting this, right? So just to put in perspective, I know we're about to wrap up, so I'm gonna share this with you.
Do it.
Sinbad is one of my favorite comedians, right? Of all time. We had interactions on Twitter. We had all kind of things. Sinbad was great. So when I was a kid, there was a movie being filmed in Pittsburgh called House Guests, right? And House Guests is being filmed here. So I drive past the park when I'm a kid, and it's where they shot the basketball scene. And as I go past, we're like, what's being filmed over there, right? And Sinbad's out there. Okay. So my dad works at a shoe store, a legendary shoe store that sells expensive ass shoes to people that can afford them. And some of these shoes are $400, $500, $200, $300. There's some affordable stuff there, but a lot of doctors, lawyers, Smokey Robinson bought shoes off my dad, right? So keep in mind, this is the 90s, right? So my dad calls me and goes, hey, guess who I just sold shoes to? Who? Sinbad. Wow. We just got done watching his funk cruise and his concerts in the islands. It was on HBO. And you know how it was back in the day when you wanted to save some shit, you put it on tape, you recorded it, and you shared it with everyone. And not everyone had HBO. So that's how I snuck and watched Chris Rock and all those people, because people was taping the shit. And my aunt was a stand-up comedian, so she would always have all these HBO specials and shit. So we'd watch it. So we got them watching. I'm like, yo, that's great. I'm excited. So fast forward. My dad brings home some movies. Brings home 3 VHSs. You following me?
I am.
3 VHSs, right? One of them's RoboCop 3. The other 2, House Guest and First Kid, Sinbad movies. So, watching movies. Fast forward. My dad gets me a Rottweiler puppy. We go pick him up. He's 6 weeks old. What did I name that Rottweiler, you think?
Sinbad.
Absolutely. So I named my Rottweiler Sinbad.
I thought you were going to say you had Sinbad's genie movie that never happened.
Oh, no. We didn't know that. no Shazam around here. So I got my puppy. His name's Sinbad. And he passes away when I'm like 18. So I go through life. One day I'm tweeting Sinbad and I go, yo, Sinbad, I named my dog after you or whatever. He's, oh, that's cool. So I said, yo, I would like you to come on my show if you get a chance when you're in Pittsburgh. I had a cigar show at the time. He said, yeah, just send me the information. Right? Cool as shit. That's dope. He comes into town. Okay. Comes into town and I'm opening for him at the casino here, which is a big casino. And it has thousands of people there, right? So there's like a sea of like 3,000, 4,000 people. And it's one of those stages where they got to put you on the Jumbotron, right? While you tell your jokes, because there's people in the back. So I'm not just opening for Sinbad, I'm featuring for Sinbad, right? Crazy as hell. Buddy of mine gets me hooked up with the promoter. So I'm about to do 30 minutes before one of my heroes, a legend, one of the greatest to ever do it, that is underrated. We're talking in the back. My boy's on stage. 2 of my boys, they go up. One does 5 minutes. The other one does 10 minutes. He's hosting. I'm talking to Sinbad at the moment. Hey, man, nice to meet you. I'm Terry Jones. Hey, what's going on, man? He's real cool. I'm like, man, I this is crazy, bro. But I just want to tell you the full circle of how crazy this all is. Said, I had a Rottweiler that I named after you. And he's laughing. I'm like, that's funny. I was like, because I watched a bunch of your movies as a kid. And I went and picked out this Rottweiler and I named him Sinbad. And I said, even crazier, my dad sold shoes to you when I was a little kid. He goes, wait, where's your dad? And I talked to him about it. He said, I remember your dad. Your dad sold me shoes because my shoe size, there's only certain places I could get shoes. And the spot your dad's at is one of those places. That and a spot in Detroit. I go, oh, wow. So I go on stage, right? I'm hyped at this point. We didn't talk. It's Sinbad, man.
You ready to put a ring on at that point.
I'm like, yo, let's go, right? And keep in mind, I don't get starstruck, and there has been a lot of like great people I grew up with. I've, watched, even down to Tracy Morgan. Tracy Morgan's crazy. Yo, they gonna put it down in Walmart. I done been around these guys.
Tracy Morgan.
Yeah, so I'm going on stage. Sinbad, I go up, do the damn thing, right? Kill it, come off. Sinbad is greeting me at the bottom of the steps. I come off the big step. Hey, man, yo, don't go nowhere. I'm going to bring you back up. Oh, shit. Sinbad's bringing me back up. So we go up. Great time. Sinbad roasts us a little bit. He said, all right, go ahead and try to roast me. I said, I ain't stupid. My boys tried to. He handed it to him. So we get off stage and he goes, He's doing this set, he's killing. And he goes, "Hey man, where's your dad at?" And my dad is sitting in a sea of thousands of people, but he's sitting up front, right? We got him some good tickets. And my dad stands up, goes, "Right here," right? And they put the light on. He goes, "Hey man, I remember you. You the shoe man," right? And a lot of people that were there know my dad. It's crazy, right? Because he's been at the store forever. So there's like hundreds of people in the audience that already know him. And he goes, "You the shoe man. Yeah, you sell the shoes." He said, "You put your kids through college selling shoes. You could have did anything. You could have been a drug dealer, all that, but you sold shoes. And you such a good shoe salesman. I'm going to tell you how good you are. You sold me some shoes. You told me that those shoes would expand because I couldn't fit them at the time. You said they would expand, and they never did."
Sit back, kept the receipt.
Oh, he kept the receipt, bro. It was great. So
that's amazing. This has been a great podcast.
Oh, sweet, man. I'm glad, man. Thanks for having me on, bro.
Yeah, thanks for being on. I may have to hit you up with some Brad Williams contact information in a couple of months. You never know.
Yeah, bro. I'll see what I could do. He's now reached like super pinnacle levels now. So
he is amazing.
He's become a bigger star. So, but I'll send you some of the stuff I have. I got pictures of us and shit. Yeah. And that video of us dancing is funny as hell.
All righty. Have a good weekend, and I'll be sure to
you too, bro.
Watch some more of your comics and check out your Spotify stuff.
Oh, sweet, bro. All
right,
my man.
Thanks for coming on. This has been amazing.
Hey, definitely, man. And if you ever want me on again, reach out.
I will. And if you ever come to Huntsville, let us know.
Oh, bro, I gotta let y'all know, man. Yeah. I gotta.
Me and Big Sam coming backstage.
You know what's crazy? I used to work in the clubs in Huntsville.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be a bouncer. I used to work for Hayes. I don't know if he's still down there, but there was a guy that used to do security in the clubs named Hayes, and he was a former cop. And I used to work for him, and I would work at Fat Cats, or what they called the Ebony Club. I worked at La Bamba.
Those are all closed.
Yeah, they're all closed because of all the shootings and shit.
Yeah, those are all burned down.
And the most dangerous clubs were in Decatur. And I worked in, I think one of them was called Dell's in Decatur.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked there, and, you would drag, because for people that don't know about Alabama and Huntsville, there's like Madison and Athens and Decatur. And these are like on the outskirts of, like, they're like 30 minutes away from actual Huntsville. Yeah. So I would work these different clubs and risk my fucking life every night. And La Bamba, they're fucking stabbing people in the back and shit, playing Gasolina. And every time Gasolina came on by Daddy Yankee, someone was fucking bleeding in the back. And I'm trying not to die and shit. It's just like, oh, that gasolina, motherfucking gasoline. The motherfucker bleeding out.
Those places are all Chipotle's and Whataburgers now.
I'm glad, because those were fucking portals to hell. I swear to God.
All right.
All right, bro.
That's been great. Have a good week. Have a good weekend, man.
You too.
See ya.
Peace.